What exactly happened in the Cavs versus Warriors game? How does this impact the potential finals rematch? Should the Cavaliers make a trade? The only question left is, say it with me, you win. Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown Live post-game show immediately after the Cavaliers and Warriors game. We're also going to be recording this as a podcast for tomorrow, and I already muted that and it did mute. So what are we muting here? Okay, so thank you for joining us. Dave, are you there? Can you hear us? Are you frozen?
I'm here.
Yeah, you are frozen again.
I can hear you, and I'm sure I'm frozen.
Yep. But you have a very nice smile on your face on the frozen screen. So
good.
I like to send out a nice FU to Wirecast. Can we do that? Is that okay?
Well, hang on. How about let's give him an encouraging, hey, Wirecast, you have a great product, but let's fix it.
Yeah, let's fix it.
Right?
They have a bug, and it's
they have a really good. It's a
way.
good product, but let's fix the problems in the new update.
Right.
That's what we need.
And you might be unfrozen for a second, and you're frozen
for
again.
a second.
But we'll fight through it. So we have this
all right.
game we just watched, the rematch of the second game. We're only going to get two of these this year. And the Warriors and the Cavaliers, I think I'm just going to throw this out there. The first thing I noticed, the first thing that jumped in my mind was what happens when LeBron James goes out to start the second quarter. That seemed to be a really key. It was 35 all, and I was really impressed. I thought the Cavaliers played as well as they played all year long. They actually were, there wasn't a lot of defense, but they were competing, and they made it really difficult for the Warriors. And they extended that lead. They got a 7-point lead with LeBron on the bench in that middle of the second quarter. And that was really intriguing to me. What do you want to focus on?
Well, I actually agree with you on that. I think they played really, really well when LeBron went to the bench. I love Dwayne Wade in this Manu Ginobili leading the second unit role. I think he's been amazing. That alley-oop that he threw to Jeff Green was shades of Miami with him and LeBron. It was just fantastic. Like Dwayne Wade made a great steal in the open court on Klay Thompson had slipped a screen and Dwayne read it from the corner and just had it, and Jeff Green hauled ass and got rewarded for it. And that's the kind of stuff from Dwayne Wade that we might have thought was, 3 years ago, right? Like maybe that's the last time he was going to do it. But he's looked really good. And I actually tweeted this out. One of the things that I think is maybe undersold a little bit with Dwayne Wade is, we talked about Manu and how good he looks at 40. But his role is a lot less than what they're asking of Dwayne Wade. And we talk about LeBron, which, of course, at his age, 15 years in, his workload is just insane. But Dwayne Wade is 36, 35.
Sans meniscus.
Yeah, and is looking amazing, rejuvenated. And I think that for the rest of his career, he should just hang out with LeBron. Whatever he's doing right now is obviously working. And it's nice to as at least for the stylistic difference in the game, he works the mid-range and he still can finish around the basket. And I think that what he brings to that second unit is important. And we saw it tonight against the Warriors, which traditionally, when LeBron's off the court, the Warriors are just running the Cavs off the floor. It's a disaster.
Right. Well, it wasn't as much of a disaster in this game because they had so many miscues in the open court. It felt like the Warriors had a lot of opportunities to score in the open court. Not a lot, but when they did have them, they threw the ball away or they missed easy shots or they just made bad decisions. And part of that goes to, I just don't, for however much I really like Jordan Bell and however much I like Patrick McCaw, they're just not ready for prime time. However, Steve Kerr is probably excited because he's now given them some of that primetime experience that they hadn't had before, and now maybe they will grow from this. So when it does come time for the playoffs, they remember. But you can just see like McCaw steps out of bounds, and Bell just won't attack and won't shoot. He's not good in the short roll. And they keep putting him in that position. And I know they want to get him some reps, but he's going to have to get in the gym or figure out how to make better, quicker decisions. And that could just be very well be experience. It might not be till next year or the third year. But right now, that's a real Achilles. When they start him and they get good minutes, they're going to need him to do better in that if they want to, not be so close in these games.
Yeah, I like what they did with him tonight. I thought it was important to get him the start. I think that is one of those things. I'm talking about Jordan Bell. That's one of those things that for a rookie can have, a huge impact on their confidence and whatnot. I mean, he only played 14 minutes tonight, and he was -5. He was the only starter in negative numbers and plus minus. So obviously he was the least effective starter, but he is, like you said, a rookie. Right. So I think from a confidence building standpoint, it was important. But you're right. He's going to have to tighten up his rotations. He's going to have to, be quicker with his decision making with the basketball. And it's one of those things that I think, like Clint Capella is a good example of this, of a guy who had just sort of clicked between last year and this year. Yeah. Right. Going into year 4 for him, it sort of clicked where he's actually able to make the read, hit the guy in the corner. And Jordan Bell has shown a little bit of that. But tonight, big spotlight, huge game, MLK Day. There's a lot going on, and I just think for a rookie, it might have been a little bit too much. You know who it wasn't too much for? Nick Young. Nick Young into crunch time was insane. I mean, I don't know, like, I kind of key in on Nick, and he only had 5 points tonight. But he was, to me, like, the threat of him shooting the 3 in crunch time was something that they've kind of missed by playing Andre Iguodala so much. I wouldn't be completely shocked if he steals a few minutes here and there in the crunch time from Iguodala just because of the threat of the 3. Okay. Like if Iggy's having an off night defensively, maybe Nick Young gets some of those Iggy minutes because he's stout enough that he can hold up a little bit on defense. But the threat of the 3 just means so much to them.
It does, and he does. I mean, he doesn't. He's one in a long line of players on this team that really don't really have a sense of what a good 3 is. Doesn't really seem to matter to them. But man, I think Kevin Durant holds the record this year for worst 3s taken, like worst decisions for 3s. He still shoots and makes them, but like they're just not great shots. Curry is up there, and even though I know he's the greatest three-point shooter I've ever seen, but man, there's like, even for Curry, there's like 6 or 7% of those he just shouldn't be taking. Clay also, I mean, it's kind of like it drives me a little bit nuts watching this because here's the thing, they are so good. If they just make the extra pass like we know they can, then they'll get that even better shot. And
I'm going to argue against you. I'm going to argue against you. I think the threat of the Curry 30-foot jump shot unlocks so much stuff in their offense.
But it's not like the open 30-foot jump shot off the dribble when he comes down or whatever. It's the ones where the guy is like on his hip chasing him and there's still 12 seconds on the clock and it's a close game and they just need those. Or it's the Clay catching it like shot fake, standing there waiting for like 3 seconds and then just shooting it with no rhythm from those.
I've never seen Clay miss one of those though. He's the only guy in the league who can shot fake, take the rhythm dribble or not take the rhythm dribble and still hit the shot. He's the only guy I've ever seen. Everyone else is 0%.
Right. And then Kevin Durant does the ISO 3s. And he is just, he's a good 3-point shooter. And on this team, with the way they move it and all the other gravity, he's, an elite 3-point shooter. But, man, when he wants to go into ISO mode thinking that, we got to get something here and he just jacks up a 3, and again, they're not a lot of them, but there's like 8 or 9% of them that they don't need to take. And they're good. They're just so good that it doesn't really affect them. And it's hard to, that's just nitpicking at this point because they won kind of going away by 10 points. Nick Young in the second half got pretty much all his minutes. Didn't really get any run in the first half. And yeah, he's dangerous, though, in both ways. He's dangerous to the defense because he can stretch it, but he can also shoot you out of it a little bit. And so the only saving grace that I've seen in the last couple of years is that he has been putting out on defense a little bit more than he certainly had in the rest of his career. And that has been what keeps Steve Kerr somewhat confident that he can be on the floor with them. But let's just face it, they have a lot. They didn't have Omri Caspi that he would have helped tonight. As well, he would have gotten some good minutes, and he does well in these situations.
Right, but they chose to have him not have him inactive. They chose to have him inactive.
Yeah, okay. So they didn't, either way. So that changes the dynamics too when we go into the playoffs. What do you think about Isaiah Thomas?
I mean, I think he looks like a guy coming back from missing 6 months, or I guess it was like 7 or 8 months actually. I think he still looks a little rusty, looks a little slow, doesn't quite have the burst that we're used to. but also, he's shown flashes here and there. The IT LeBron pick and roll is something that I've really been focused on for like the last month or so, since I knew Thomas was coming back. I've compared it to the Curry KD pick and roll. Obviously, it's not as potent. That is probably the most potent play in the NBA.
Yeah.
But what I will say is LeBron's improved shooting from three, and obviously LeBron being just so fantastic as a roll man going to the basket. IT's ability to finish in traffic and his ability to shoot the three off the pick and roll. That's going to be a guaranteed bucket for them, or as close as there is in the league, once he's back in shape. But I just don't think he's in shape yet. So I won't judge IT on what I saw tonight. I think this is only like game 4 or something since he's returned from injury. So I think it's too early to tell. And again, I know the Cavs have lost 8 of 10. I'm not that concerned yet. They're playing the long game for sure. And it sucks as analysts because, we see the defensive stuff. And they're not going to fix these defensive problems. They didn't do it last year.
Right.
But their offense is going to be so good that it makes up for a lot of these problems. So, and I'm still not saying that they're guaranteed to go to the finals, although LeBron is as close to a guarantee as you can get.
Right.
I'm not going to bet against him. But with that being said, I don't think that you can judge Isaiah Thomas by the way he played tonight. I don't know if that's how he's going to play in the finals. But again, I also saw, he had an ISO opportunity on KD, and that's just not going to work out well for Isaiah Thomas at all. That is just going to be a disaster. A 7-footer with that kind of lateral quickness and those arms, it's a disaster for him. I mean, the Warriors are probably the worst team in the league for him to match up against, being my height. It's just it's not a good look against the Warriors.
Oh, I agree, and I think that I was kind of curious. I mentioned this on Twitter, where I want to know what it might look like, or what Isaiah's 3-point percentage is like within when he checks in the game. Like how quickly, when he's cold, does he warm up, and can he make those shots? Because to me, if you have the hip issues and you need to get warmed up, that might be tough. And he missed one pretty badly coming in the game that way. So to me, that was that's an interesting thing that he might have to just deal with the whole time he's out there, which is really going to be rough. But we'll have to see how that goes. I really like those interesting pick and roll pairings that we see, those non-traditional ones. So you got guys like KD and Steph, which they do a lot of now, especially out top without any kind of movement. You have LeBron and Isaiah are definitely up there as well. So I think I might do a video on that too, and just sort of spotlighting some of those really interesting pick and rolls, because it does make it very difficult for the defense. And you're right. Now, Isaiah didn't shoot very well at all. And in fact, I have the stats up here. I'm going to try and pull up in 1 second full screen so we can all see it. But the idea being that, let's see here, if I do this and I go like that, there we go. We have the stats nice and hopefully kind of big enough. And let's see if you guys can see this. But, guess what? There's no audio when I do that. Forgive me, I forgot. There's no audio. I'll deal with that later. Anyway, the point being that Isaiah didn't shoot that well. He was 8 for 21. Now, Dwayne Wade was 5 for 14, and that's simply not going to cut it at all when you have those two guys shooting high volume and not making that or missing that many. So I know that you mentioned that Dwayne Wade looked good, and he did at times. He did look good almost on defense as well, but there were a lot of times where he didn't look good either, and he didn't finish well. So that's what you're going to get with him. It's just going to be up and down, and they're just going to have to figure out that sweet spot, and that sweet spot of minutes where they can get the most positive way they can.
Yeah, look, it's a tough matchup. I mean, the Warriors are by far the best team we've ever seen assembled as far as both sides of the basketball. They're the best offensive team of all time, and defensively, they're not slouches in the slightest. So they were never going to. I mean, the Cavs were never going to be a really good matchup for them. And you hope that IT can perform well enough that it sort of lessens the gap. But I still think it was 118-108 tonight. The Warriors didn't look like they really took it seriously until the fourth quarter.
Right.
You can tell that when you look at some of the sloppy turnovers and things like that. So it's still not close, and I hate to be that negative about it, but it just isn't. Let's just be real.
Right.
We know what this is.
And we're not hating on the Cavs. I mean, again, I want to throw out a lot of kudos to them. They played really, really hard, and LeBron was great, and he played defense really well too, as well. They were in focus. This is their finals version, kinda. And again, this is what's going to happen probably in the finals. Is they'll have games that could be close for a while, and then eventually the talent will separate them, and then eventually, the way the Warriors actually execute their offense very well as well. It's not just the talent, but it certainly will help in the long run. And in the 7-game series, it certainly will. But I will say this: this is the Cavs team that when they play like that, no one in the East will beat them.
Yeah, that's 100% true. If they can play like they did tonight, they are probably the second or third best team in basketball. So there's nothing wrong with being very, very, very good, right? It doesn't mean that they're garbage. It doesn't mean that we're not tainting. LeBron is not tainting his legacy or anything like that. It's tough, man. The Warriors are just so good. You've got 4 really great players, and they have put together a ton of really great role players that accentuate the gifts of those 4 guys. And it's tough, man.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Let's go to a question we have in the comments over on Periscope. First.
Actually, I got a really great question on Twitter before we jump to Periscope.
All right, hit it.
It's from Aaron. It's if thou canst tell, which is funny. How do you think Curry did offensively, considering his history against the Cavs? So I just wanted to take this as an opportunity to sort of dispel a myth. Curry has not really been bad against the Cavs. He probably should have been the MVP in that first championship run.
Right.
And got hosed a little bit on that. But the way that the Cavs defend him is they send a double really early, and he gives the ball up, which is what he's supposed to do. Yeah. And he lets his teammates play 4-on-3. So tonight, he was 4 of 8 from 3, 8 of 15 overall, 23 points, 8 assists, a couple of steals, 4 rebounds, plus 13 on the night. I'd say that was a very good game, very, very good. And what he opens up for the Warriors is so important because of that double and his willingness to give the ball up almost immediately. He doesn't mess around, try to split the trap or anything like that. He gives it up, and then he hustles to a spot so he might get an open shot. But I think that what he does offensively is just it's one of these things where if you're a fan of basketball and you only watch the ball, it is very hard to understand the impact that Curry has,
right,
in particular against teams that trap him super high and early.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's go on another question here because Dougie Fresh, I don't know where it went, but he asked a question on here, wherever you are, and he wanted to know about DeAndre Jordan. And I was thinking about this because we talked about this 2 or 3 times in the last month about whether or not the Cavs should trade for him. And I kind of had an epiphany. I wanted to check the stats real quick because Kevin Love is a problem in this matchup. He was 5 for 9 from the field, and so there were moments where he was really hurting the Warriors. And when they were at their best, it was when he was hitting threes. He was 3 for 5 from 3, 17, but he was a negative 12. And I just feel like it's frustrating to watch because defensively he's the real weak link. By the way, part of it is he's just too slow. And he's probably kind of beat up. His knees are probably on the way to being shot at this point. I mean, I know he's not. Is he 30 yet?
I don't think he's 30 yet.
He kind of runs like he's 30, 32, right? Just the way he runs. But either way, I started thinking, you know what?
29.
If you could replace Kevin Love with DeAndre Jordan, suddenly you got a much faster, much better athlete, a guy that can block shots above the rim, because certainly Love doesn't make any plays anywhere around the rim generally. Although I wanted to give him credit. He had that one sequence where he pressured Curry into an air ball beautifully, and then right before that, he kept him in front and knocked the ball away. So that was an amazing possession for him, but they don't get that hardly at all. And then what they get is just pointing fingers and looking at him with their hands in their hips when the other team scores a lot. So I'm thinking that, you know what, if they really wanted to make a run and try and beat the Warriors in the finals, they need to trade him.
I mean, possibly. I also think he might be their most valuable trade piece beyond the Nets pick.
Yeah. Okay.
So that might be a reason to trade him. But, yeah, I don't know. I think part of what we saw where he was effective offensively has to do with them using Jordan Bell to guard him. I would have just put Klay Thompson on him. because they had Clay guarding Isaiah Thomas, and I actually think that Curry is suited for that matchup like without much trouble. And I just would have put Clay on him, and then use Bell on, I don't know, Jay Crowder or something like that, because Jay Crowder's not gonna be able to body up in the post the way that Kevin Love was, and we saw it a little bit. I mean, Kevin Love is super strong, especially posting up.
Right. So why do you want Clay on him?
Well, because Clay actually can defend him in the post. Jordan
No,
Bell's only
he
like
can't.
225 pounds. Yes,
No,
he can't. Hold on, Nick, are you telling?
He would
Did you
back
not
him
watch?
down. He would shoot that jump hook.
No
over
way.
him.
We saw it in the finals. Klay Thompson.
No, we saw Kevin Durant being able to handle him.
No,
down, though.
Klay Thompson could handle Kevin Love on switches on post ups and stuff like that.
Oh, you're gonna have to show me some of that footage.
All right, I'm gonna have to dig up. Now I gotta dig up
That's
video.
fake news to me. I'll have to look that up because I don't remember that at all, and I just know that look how he was able to back down Jordan Bell, who was much
Jordan
stronger.
Bell is no. I don't think Jordan Bell is stronger than Klay.
Well, if Jordan Bell could get a hand up at least, that would be something we could get a handle on to know if he could actually stop it.
That would have helped. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really frustrating. I know that Rod Adams must be really frustrated watching that, where he's kind of like holding his own a little bit, but then he just shoots a jump hook. He doesn't even put a hand up. It's like, just try at least, get that hand up. So I don't know. So we have some fighting words on a couple things. I don't think that Steph can do that well on Isaiah either.
Look at footage.
That's
now again. So that's one of those things. I think one of the things that we talk about. We think Klay Thompson is a good defender, but against guys that are ultra quick like Isaiah Thomas, I don't know if it makes sense to switch Klay. I mean, his length helps, but Isaiah Thomas is so quick and runs off a lot of screens, kind of like Klay Thompson. So I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to have him. I think Steph makes a little bit more sense. And then I don't know if you noticed this tonight, but I saw a lot more DHO action from the Cavs than I'm used to seeing. Like last year with Kyrie, you just didn't see a ton of that. So we saw a lot of that tonight with Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, we did. And by the way, it's no shame that Curry can't keep Isaiah Thomas in front of him, because nobody really can. He's good enough to get by a lot of those guys and finish those. And he had one floater. I just don't know how he does it. I'm taller than him, and he had a floater over KD who was completely extended, and it was nice. Was that the one that was off the glass maybe? I don't know how he does it. It's really one of the more impressive things I see all year long is when he can do that stuff. But again, yeah, he's not. Rusty is a good term for it. I don't know if I see anything with the hips necessarily that would possibly be bothering him. So, and we haven't heard anything about it as far as I know. So, interesting stuff. But again, I think it was a good game, and I do think that the Warriors cared and they were intense and they was in playoff atmosphere. But it was just one of those things where they're just too good. They're too good in transition. And if Steve Kerr wants to get on them and make them stop throwing the cross court passes like that, if they ever did and heeded that advice, then the game would probably be it would be over a lot earlier.
Yeah, agreed. Again, though, you got to get those Kevon Looney minutes in there. You gotta play 14 guys. Right. Actually, they didn't play 14, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. And then do you really gonna have Steph and Curry? Steph and KD out at the same time for those stretches when you don't need to? I know you want to give Klay some run, but I would just play around with that a little bit more and let Klay and KD play together or something, and then Draymond and Steph sit. I don't know. Those lineups make me concerned. Does Caspi change that if he's in there? I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe. Caspi's been a kind of an issue for their offense this year. He's cutting a little bit too much into driving lanes and stuff like that. Yeah. I really feel like they need to have a sit down with him and say, hey, when you're weak side, feel free to move around, but don't get in the way when we're driving to the hoop. And he tends to bring his the extra defender. I'd almost like to see Caspi just be a spot up in the corner type of guy.
Oh, well, we don't, again, just like we don't want to limit them on their threes because that's what they do. You don't want to limit him to that. And, I think they get a lot of great stuff out of that. But I see what you say a little bit on those. And that's probably just what the rest of the regular season is going to be, is him slowly figuring it out when he can go, when he shouldn't. And then his defense will make a difference as well. So a lot of stuff here. I'm kind of trying to sweep through the YouTube comments to see if we have any good questions, as we have our buddy Gigolo Puff is keeping it real in there and getting rid of all the trolls. So Dave, do you have a good question that you can see from Twitter or Periscope while I scroll here?
Let's see. No. I got a little caught up because now I'm on Synergy pulling up Klay Thompson defensive footage.
Multitasking,
you got
good
me.
For you. All right. You still have to show it to me though. But anyway,
I'm gonna. Don't worry, it's coming.
Right.
I don't have anything.
All right, what's up, I2 Real? Who wants to know? He asked me to answer him, so I'm answering you on there live. Let's have a little interaction with the fans here, with the audience.
Well, here's one that's not related to tonight's game from Brady Klopfer of B-Ball Breakdown. Based on what we've seen so far this season, who do you think has a higher upside, Lonzo Ball or Lauri Markkanen?
Wow. I think Lonzo does for sure, but I can't tell you how much I love Lauri. He's looking so good, and you can see that there's a lot more that in his game. He can be the next Dirk, but I know you'll remind me that Dirk was a really good athlete when he was young, and we all forget that. Yeah,
he really was, especially in the open court.
Yeah, but he might be like a better ball handling version of Dirk too. Like I think, and that by the way, that might just be a factor of him growing up now, where like he just got a lot earlier run at doing those things, maybe than Dirk did. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still think maybe Lonzo, but man, is Lauri great. But by the way, interesting thing, I have a couple of videos coming up. One, as a little teaser here, one is coming out tomorrow, and it's talking about assists and how they are given out and whether or not it's BS or not, I suppose is the right term. And then I do have another one because guess what? I have a provocative video, and in a short, what do we call it again? Small sample size theater. I have a video that might have an argument that Lonzo isn't the best rookie guard in Los Angeles.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, and I might even have that player on the show to discuss it too. So I'm very excited about that. But I'll keep that under wraps. But I want to tease that a little bit. It's a very small sample size theater, but I tell you, it's an interesting question right now if the guy continues to do what he's doing. So be tuned in for that one. And then can I throw another question now? Are we ready?
Yeah.
Bryce F. asks, Coach Nick, do you think that having Love play center has helped or hurt the Cavs? That's an interesting question. I think that they sort of have to do it because of the way they have, Wade coming off the bench and Isaiah. But I don't think it helps them. Well, it probably is neutral. Wouldn't you say it's kind of neutral because he does a lot of great things from that position on the offensive end. And then he gives it all up on the defensive end, or somewhat close. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I think he helps them on offense and doesn't necessarily help them on defense. I mean, that's eye test. I haven't looked at the stats, but I do know that the team is better with Kevin Love on the court than it is with Tristan Thompson so far this year. But Tristan Thompson's not really been healthy. He hasn't been healthy.
Tristan Thompson that got every offensive rebound, would block
shots.
Been healthy.
He hasn't been healthy. And so, I hate to judge him on a season where he really has struggled with health quite a bit. But it is what it is. And so far this season, he hasn't really done what you want out of him.
And you think he's because he's injured? He's hurt. What's he?
I think it's he's had a knee issue. And, for a guy who's living on the glass, that's a problem.
Yeah.
By the way, I just shout out to Ryan Hicks for grabbing at least one clip of Klay Thompson defending Kevin Love. I actually have a bunch that I just grabbed off of Synergy, but
down low in the post is what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean this is what. Listen, man, Klay Thompson is stout. He is stout. I think he just, you've seen him in person. He's a thicker guy than you'd think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You have to show me because in my mind's eye, I can't picture those plays, and then I can just picture, Love just lowering his shoulder, backing him down, and then doing a little jump hook or whatever, or forcing him to double. So if you see that and you see him stopping him easily, and how many plays do you have of that?
I've got a few. I'll
All
let's
from
just
the
put it this
finals
way.
last year?
Yeah, so post-ups in the playoffs last year, opponents were 2 of 11 against Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is a surprisingly good post defender.
Okay. No, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean, I guess we're not surprised. He doesn't have to do it that much, but okay.
Yeah, and again, it's regular season. Just throw it out there, see what happens.
Right.
Jordan Bell wasn't going to do it.
Okay. Well, as we start to
that's my
wrap
big
up
thing.
here,
Plus, you get the cross match.
Oh, right, on the other way, right, which is helpful, right? Although you don't get the Klay will be sucked under the basket on the rebound and then doesn't get out necessarily as easily, but maybe somebody else does.
Maybe, I don't know. How
well,
about Klay as a trail on for a trail 3?
Okay, well, isn't someone out there like a 3-and-D guy that they could trade for Love? There's nobody out there that they could get who could be much better on defense and shoot some threes.
That was the thing when they got Crowder, right? Like we really thought Crowder was going to be that guy, and I don't know if you watched like the very first possession of the game, it was apparent he wasn't going to be able to hang with KD on the wing. Yeah, and this is one of those things where like Jay Crowder had a hell of a summer. In a bad way. And so, I don't know if he's still working his way back in. He looked better after, when IT came back, at least offensively, but the defensive stuff's still in there. He looks like he lost a step.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of Celtics folks that have been telling me that this is something that the Celtics team sort of was covering. Like with their defensive rotations and stuff like that. They were kind of covering up for this Crowder sort of loss of a step. So I wonder if that's a little bit, if there's more to that than what we just are assuming. Like has this been maybe a couple year decline, and the Celtics were just so good at masking it, we didn't see it. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but I know one thing, that if they're going to have Jay Crowder on KD is probably going to be the Finals MVP again.
Yeah. Well, he didn't go crazy tonight. Crazy. 9 for 16, 32 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. That's pretty crazy.
Did not go crazy.
But it was a pretty smooth 32 points. Like it wasn't,
and 8 assists.
Right. It was a very much like in the flow. It didn't feel like a loud 32 points. So that's pretty impressive.
No.
Let's close with this because I'm curious about your thoughts. To me, it feels like Kevin Durant is the guy they need to guard. LeBron James is the guy they need to guard Kevin Durant. It seems like that's their best option. And in fact, I might even do a video. And again, I'm just going to be attacked for being a hater. But for as much as they hide Steph Curry on defense, they kind of hide LeBron. Like he doesn't guard the other guy. Now again, I get it. He's got to do so much on offense that you can't expect him to guard his position if it's like KD. I get it. Maybe he should do a little bit less on offense for some more energy. But here's the crux of the question is they keep him off of a guy like KD so then he could be part of the help defense and swoop in and stuff like that. What do you think about that?
So I understand it against almost everyone except for KD. Okay. I think LeBron has to try to guard KD, and I think that you could put Jay Crowder on Draymond Green and allow Crowder to sort of be the help guy that you want LeBron to be. Now, his rim protection is not going to be there. This is sort of, where they're dying on the offensive sword, right? Like they're playing Kevin Love, so they don't have Tristan Thompson's rim protection and defensive rebounding. Not that Love is bad at it, but he's not the athletic guy that Tristan Thompson is. And so I think that I actually think that they're going to go out and make a trade, and I feel like DeAndre Jordan is probably going to be the guy they trade for. I really think that they will feel like that's what they're missing, and I don't know if DeAndre Jordan's going to move the needle for them against the Warriors. Now, against the rest of the East, I think he does, but I don't think he will against the Warriors. So I don't know. I'm with you. I think it makes a lot of sense to have LeBron guarding KD instead of being that help defender. But then it's tough, man, because Steph Curry is so good at the basket. Okay, so KD can hang out and just drag LeBron away from the basket on the weak side, and he's not, or on the strong side even, and he's not going to be able to help on those Steph Curry drives. So
Right.
I don't know. There is no answer, which is the problem.
But there
They
could
need
be,
Kawhi or Paul George.
Right.
You know?
Well, there could be an answer if they don't even have to make a trade, which is I don't know why they don't start Tristan Thompson, Kevin Love, and LeBron James in the front court and just move Jay Crowder to shooting guard alongside Isaiah. Get J.R. Smith off the bench or something like that. Now you don't have Kevin Love having to deal with that. Now Kevin Love, who would he match up with at that point? That's kind of interesting. But he could probably guard. You put Tristan Thompson on Draymond, and then you have. Here's the question: if they start that, then they could probably start Zaza, and then you can put Love on Zaza, and they don't lose anything at all.
Right.
So that's interesting as well. Now that said, we don't know if Steve Kerr is going to want to do that. He might want to just force the issue the entire time. To get Kevin Love on the bench. How many minutes did Kevin Love play? He played 26 minutes. It's low, right? He usually plays more than that.
Yeah,
and that's the result
low.
of them going so small. So
Crowder played 21.
Yeah, and Crowder played 21. So who was getting the heavy minutes? I mean, LeBron got 36. Was actually
Jeff Green had 26. Wade had 25.
Now, LeBron played less than his normal minutes, too, which is also interesting. And I think that they were able to scrounge out a couple extra minutes there when that bench unit got them the lead in the second quarter. But to be fair, that same units, I think they were almost the same five against the same five in the fourth quarter to start, got the lead back for the Warriors. And that's when you want it, in the fourth, not in the second. So, well, Dave, great show. Thanks for joining us out here and everybody out there. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You win. You win, Dave?
Yes, I am.